Back for another episode of the Climate Tech Inc. NFL Prediction Show. Week 4, Cole McDaniel, Vince McKee here with you. And before we get things going, Vince, I'll hand it over to you to talk about our sponsor, Climate Tech Inc.
As always, Climate Tech Inc. for the 5th season, our banner sponsor of this show. We absolutely love them. They offer professional HVAC services in North Ridgeville. They do everything from installations to repairs. You want to trust them with your safe heating and cooling solutions. Again, guys, that is climatetech.com, climate-tech.com to be official on that one. Give them a call, 440-529-2880. Swing by their shop in person, 7900 Root Road in North Ridgeville, Ohio. Tim Beckner and the boys and Josh Jabegi, the whole crew will be there to greet you. Just tell them that Keon Sports sent you.
Well, another week's upon us, and Vince, last week we only had 3 games that were different. I got 1, you got 2, so your 2-game advantage, which had been a 3-game advantage the week prior, has moved back to 3 once again. So it's really right where we started after week 1, and we're back there again. I'm still within striking distance. It's early. I got a gut feeling that things are going to be pretty tight for quite a long time. If it's anything like the past couple years, our record's going to go down to the wire all the way to the end. So interesting start for us so far. We had a really good week 1. Week 2, not so hot. Week 3, I think same thing. It could have been better. Nothing's been as good so far as what we had in week 1. So we'll see if week 4 anything turns around. But the NFL has been weird this year. A lot of big upsets, a lot of teams that you'd expect to win. They're falling short. Cincinnati Bengals don't have a win. They're struggling. Really, the entire AFC North is struggling aside from the Steelers. But don't forget, even though the Steelers are undefeated, the Steelers have the weakest part of their schedule right now because the back half is ridiculously difficult for them. So a collapse is very much so still on the table, depending upon how they do later in the year. So it's been nuts. There's been a few good games here and there. Aside from that, it's been a snooze fest, Vince.
Cincinnati is definitely tanked. A bit of a buzzsaw for them the last 2 weeks, but not really, because people are like, oh, 0-3, they must have the schedule that's a buzzsaw. No, I mean, when you lose to New England week 1, that's obviously a shocker. And then Monday Night Football at home against a team like the Commanders, that should have been a win. That wasn't. Since Joe Burrow came back from that injury last year, they have a very, very poor record. Kind of shocking. Obviously, we'll talk about the Browns a little bit later on. Baltimore almost 0-3, jumped out to a huge lead against Dallas, and then almost blew that. And then, like you said, Pittsburgh 3-0. How long is that going to stand? I don't know. Again, another team wins over Atlanta and Denver. So not exactly giant killers there. I've picked against them, and I keep losing. And we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later when we get to our upset picks. But certain surprises, like you said, a lot to be decided. The Rams beat the 49ers. I don't think anybody saw that coming last week. Denver, I forget who they beat, but I'm pretty sure they were a pretty heavy underdog.
The
So
Buccaneers.
Tampa Bay. That's right. I'm sorry, I should know.
Yeah.
My favorite team. Yeah, I mean they beat Tampa Bay. It's been very, very interesting. So a lot to talk about, but we do have a phenomenal Sunday night football game. I think it's going to be the best one so far this season, actually. Very excited to break down that game with you.
Well, we get things started with the Sunday night game you just mentioned. It's the Buffalo Bills taking on the Baltimore Ravens, a Buffalo Bills team that's undefeated. They're 3-0 so far. Their offense has gotten even better without Stephon Diggs, without Gabe Davis. Now they have so many guys that they can spread that football around to. There might not necessarily be a true wide receiver 1 there. It probably is Khalil Shakir here at the moment, but honestly, you have Keon Coleman who on 1 target, gets a touchdown last week. Shakir getting some targets. You have Dalton Kincaid at tight end. Curtis Samuel, obviously, is an asset there. Mac Hollins. Go down the list. They have a ton of people to get that football. But in the current system, Josh Allen, again, he's running the football a lot. And James Cook has been on fire to start this year, not only as a runner, but as a receiving back as well. This Buffalo team looks legitimate right now. As long as they don't fall apart later in the year, they look really good, better than they have in the past couple years. So maybe this is the year that they get over the hump. It's going to be hard for the Chiefs to three-peat. Maybe the Bills actually make the run and get to the Super Bowl. It's been a long time coming. I just don't think people expected it could happen this year. On the flip side, you have the Baltimore Ravens, a Ravens team that has a lot of talent. People expected a lot out of them. They're struggling right now, and they can't seem to keep a lead. They continually give up a ton of points. Baltimore, they lost in the first game of the season. Their loss to Las Vegas, they had a massive lead against them. I think they gave up 13 points, 13 unanswered points to end that game to lose to the Raiders, and they should not have lost to Las Vegas. They beat the Dallas Cowboys, but they gave up, I believe, like 15 unanswered points to the Dallas Cowboys and nearly squandered that lead. They managed to hold on. So as good as the Ravens have played in the first half, the second half has been atrocious in like every single game this season so far. It's been ridiculous. They got to figure something else out. But as the Browns have struggled, the Ravens, the Bengals, some of those teams, they're definitely giving the Browns at least an open foot in the door, considering how bad Cleveland's been so far. Vince, I'm going to start off by saying this. Said a lot about these teams. A lot of talent. It could be a really good game. I don't think that the Ravens are going to be able to, even if they're leading, hold on to the lead because I haven't seen it yet. I don't trust them. So for that reason, I'm going to say Buffalo stays undefeated. I have them winning this one 27-20, so still close enough. But I just think that Buffalo's clicking and the Ravens, it's going to be hard for them to figure it out against the Buffalo Bills. They need a weaker team, I think.
Scary to think, but it was possible for one moment there that the Ravens could have started the season 0-5 if they would have lost to Dallas, which was definitely a losable game. They came back to win, but had they would have lost to Dallas, coming into Buffalo this week or against Buffalo, and then going to Cincinnati next week, that's a 5-game, unbelievably tough way to start your season for Baltimore. They were able to avoid disaster last week and hang on to beat Dallas. Like I said, if they lost, I don't even know what to think at that point. Speaking of thinking, though, I had a long time to think about this today. Ken Dorsey, when he was fired for Buffalo, they were 5-5. Since Ken Dorsey got fired from that Buffalo Bills offense, I believe they only lost once since then. They've been on fire. I don't know if he was the albatross or what the situation was. That's number one. Number two, wanted to point this out about that Buffalo offense. Josh Allen, in a very subtle way, he's not really the kind of guy who's going to throw anybody under the bus, so I will say that about him. But in a very subtle way, Josh Allen said in a press conference Monday morning, one of the reasons this team is clicking is because we have an offense where nobody is worried about stats. We don't have anybody in this locker room who's worried about stats. We're simply worried about winning. And whether people might not think that or not, Stefon Diggs, man.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's going on in Houston. And we're actually seeing Houston struggle to a 2-1 start to the season. Again, more on that later. But all that being said, I feel like this is the game Baltimore has to win. I kind of throw myself in these situations, and that's usually why I'm behind earlier in the season, had to play catch up. But I kind of feel like this is a must-win situation for Baltimore to right their ship, get to 2-2, and kind of get back on that path they need to be on. So Baltimore is my pick. I'm going to make that official. I'm picking the Baltimore Ravens. However, if Buffalo could steamroll this offense, Cole, or I'm sorry, this defense of Baltimore's, holy cow, what are we going to see out of them this season? If Baltimore comes into, oh man, I keep screwing up. I apologize. If Buffalo comes into Baltimore and blows out that offense, I don't know if there's going to be any stopping them. And you might have Kansas City versus Buffalo in the AFC Championship game yet again. This is a true test for that Buffalo offense going into Baltimore, national TV, against that kind of defense. It's going to be very fun to watch. But yes, this is our first difference. We're one game in, already one pick different.
Yeah, I feel like most times that you pick the Baltimore Ravens, you are wearing a purple shirt. So you did it again.
Coincidence.
You picked the Baltimore Ravens, you're wearing a purple shirt. So we've already got one difference, and that could be a good one on Sunday night. Well, we'll see if we're going to have a difference on Monday night because there are 2 games to pick from. But I'll let you go before we switch.
I'll just say this. I'm not exactly Podesta or any kind of Billy Bean kind of analytics kind of guy, but I would love to go back over the years and see what my record is picking with a polo shirt on with a collar or a wrestling shirt. Something tells me I do better when I have the wrestling shirts on. So we will we will see.
Maybe it's possible. So
Pick
if you want to go back through
be
that,
comfortable, pick well. No, I'm not going. I don't have time. Sorry.
well, we'll hold on that until the off season. Monday Night Football, the first game, clunker, Tennessee Titans and the Miami Dolphins without Tua Tagovailoa. So, Vince, I'm going to let you start off with this one. What do you think about this game?
Not much to say. I kind of say must win there for Baltimore. Don't want to be over dramatic here with Miami. Who knows who's even going to be playing quarterback? Whether it's Skylar Thompson, whether it's their third string. That will probably be decided late Monday afternoon. The Lord only knows. But Tennessee is a disaster, man. I picked against Tennessee 3 straight weeks, and it's done me well. I'm going to pick against them for a 4th straight week. Miami's in trouble, but Miami, here's the thing with them. They have other parts to that team. It wasn't like Tua was their whole team. I don't care what anybody says. Just get the ball to your weapons, and you should be fine. Tennessee is just going to get boat raced this season. Maybe not this week, but certain games, I don't even know how they're going to compete at this point. The coach is just screaming and yelling. Quarterback's a turnover machine. I know from my daily life, if you, no matter what your job is, I don't care if you're picking garbage up off the street. If you know that the person in charge of you has no faith in you and is going to criticize publicly everything you do, like what's going on in Tennessee, I don't know how the guy ever expects Will Levis to get better. Again, all that being said, going to go with the Dolphins.
Yeah, and remember, I was really low on Will Levis and Anthony Richardson, both of those quarterbacks coming out in their draft class. And so far this season, that's looking pretty accurate. Richardson hasn't been good. Will Levis has been terrible. Um, I think that's pretty straightforward that, yeah, Will Levis is bad. And the hard thing is that if your organization, if your franchise is trying to roll with him, you got to find ways to lift him up and motivate him and encourage him. That's
Yes.
not what's happening right now. He was already bad in the first place. Now you got him in a bad headspace. It's going to collapse. It's going to fall apart. I honestly think that maybe it's a tactic to try to intentionally tank and make him play bad so that way they can get a top quarterback this next year. Strange tactic if you're the head coach because you should be on the hot seat, right? You should want to win games. You should want your quarterback to do well, but maybe Callahan feels like he's in a good enough position that he's like, yeah, they'll probably give me one more year. We could tank
Wouldn't
and then
trust
get
it.
somebody. But I wouldn't trust it with NFL owners. They
Nope.
want success. They want it fast. They're going to can you. So they'll get you out of there, maybe even before they get Will Levis out of there. So
Look at Carolina. Perfect example of that. Look at the Carolina Panthers. It took 2 weeks to bench Bryce Young this year.
yeah, so we'll see what happens, but I think for that reason, as much as the Miami Dolphins, they're in hot water, they're going to have problems right now, even with Skylar Thompson. I'm with you. I have Miami winning this game. Have it 16-13. Very
Yeah.
low scoring. I wouldn't be surprised if Will Levis throws a pick six, and that helps Miami out. And Miami, some of their points, very few points come from the defense, but. Ultimately, as long as Thompson can find Tyreek Hill, find Jalen Waddle, find the speedy weapons just a few times throughout the game, they can turn one reception into an 80-yard TD, right? So
Mhm.
that's why I think Miami wins this game. We're on the same page with this one, but going to be a dud of a game. It's actually the second Monday Night Football game that's the better of the two. I'm going to start this off by saying the Seattle Seahawks, undefeated right now. Impressive start for them. They already have a 2-game lead in the NFC West. So that's massive for Seattle. Just going to be a matter of if they can actually hold on to that. The Detroit Lions, they start off a little bit slower here this season. I had them as a team going to the Super Bowl that I thought could win the Super Bowl, and I had them as my Super Bowl pick. They still have the talent to do so. They have I think, at least the mentality to do so. Just have not quite found their rhythm yet. Sam Laporta hasn't been super effective yet. Jared Goff hasn't really been finding him. Amon-Ra St. Brown was kind of quiet the first week or two. He's really started to come to life a little bit. So David Montgomery, he's still going to get a lot of touches on really goal to go situations. He's a poacher when it comes to scoring touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs, then for anybody who plays fantasy football, again, he's the guy who he might do the work the whole way down the field for the drive, and it's going to be David Montgomery getting the touchdown. So That team, though, I think they're going to have a bounce back. The Seahawks, they're going to lose at some point. So I have the Lions winning this game 33-27. I feel like the Lions, they're going to start kicking it into gear here pretty soon. And they need to if they want to be one of the top seeds in the NFC.
I agree completely, and I just wanted to apologize if anybody saw me playing with my phone just now. We had we had bad weather last night, so they were doing these tornado warnings, and I just noticed I had my volume on, so I wanted to make sure that was off in case we get another tornado warning. But skies outside are pretty clear and calm, so we should be okay.
Yeah,
Speaking of clear and calm,
how dare you? How dare anybody send off a tornado warning during our show, right? And interrupt
exactly.
that. You have priorities over
I think we
safety.
got I think we got 2 drops of water last night too, and the funny thing
Yeah,
is
right.
that I was going to work out, and my gym is extremely small, and it's all glass when you come in. You're just in front of this glass window, like there's no privacy. I'm
Safe.
like, I
Yeah.
don't care. Yeah, very safe. I don't care. Through the back of my shoulder. I'll see you guys, later. I mean, the girls were
Right.
already in bed, but
Yeah.
anyways, that shows you where my headspace is talking about this game because I'm kind of frustrated. I mean, not at you or me or anything else, but at Detroit because, like you, I kind of felt they were a serious threat to win the NFC, just like I felt Houston
Mhm.
was, and I am not impressed by either one of them so far.
No.
So interesting the way we've begun. However, when you look at this game and you kind of break it down, I'll do it very quickly. I feel like Seattle's schedule has been soft. Detroit's schedule has not been. So they've really kind of bounced around a little bit with who they're playing. It takes some time, especially when there's a lot of hype. Detroit has never been good 2 years in a row since I've been a little kid, since the Barry Sanders years. It's been a long time. So Detroit's trying to build that, right? Get past the hype of last year, prove it wasn't a fluke, continue on with it. I think it would be great for the sport of football if Detroit continues to be good. Love all those guys you just named. I think they're headed in the right direction. I see Seattle kind of cooling off this week. Going to pick the Lions. I will say this: my official pick is the Detroit Lions, so we do match up with both of our picks there. But I will say this, and you guys have heard me complain about this before. I love football, but I hate the doubleheader on Monday night. And this is not even a doubleheader. This is just flat out stupid. I
Same.
hate when they do this.
Yeah, same. Same. I hate it too. And you know why I hate it? What the main reason is?
Well, there's no Manning cast.
Yes, exactly. Because there's no Manning cast. That is the best part of Monday Night Football, honestly. Because I got to say this, as much as I like football, you listen to all the broadcasts during the week. You
Hmm.
have Thursday night football, you got college football all day
Hmm.
Saturday, you have all the games on Sunday. By the time you get to Monday night, I don't really want to hear the announcers. I really
They're
don't want to hear
terrible.
Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. And I think they're good announcers. I think they're a good broadcast crew. But at that point, I would rather just listen to two guys on their couches just chatting and laughing and joking and have a good time because it's a less serious thing. And I'm not saying I'm get tired of football by Monday night football. I really don't. But I like that it's just kind of okay, final one of the week. Let's kind of just be more relaxed and just have a good time just chatting on the couch. It feels more like you're with your buddies for that game, even though they're wearing sweater
Yeah.
vests because it's the Mannings. But I think it's one of those things where I like that it's at least a little bit more relaxed. So I'm disappointed whenever the Manning cast isn't on, and the doubleheader. Like I can't watch both games. I want to watch a primetime game.
It's not even a doubleheader. It's just stupid. And then they break in, when the other team's going to score a touchdown, and they just split screen. And I think I'm like the only man in America who doesn't like split screens. But yeah, it just it's a cheesy feel to it that I don't like. I actually like Joe Buck. So I apologize for saying they stink because I love Joe Buck actually. One of the few people in Cleveland who actually really enjoys his work. Not a
Yeah,
big Troy Aikman fan, not at all. Troy Aikman to me doesn't really come across as someone who does a ton of homework. I think he might learn a few things throughout the week about each team and then kind of stick to those same
yeah,
2 points over and over again. Where a good color guy, and I know this from doing color with you, and Dom Cleary, my God, is phenomenal. Who does color for our high school football games? You have to know more than 2 things, and you
yeah.
really have to know. You just have to know a lot, to keep it interesting. So it is what it is. But I agree with you. I just never been a big fan of the split screens or the 2 games at once. If it was a true doubleheader, I don't even think then I'd still like it. They used to do that too. They would play like a Seattle or a Los Angeles or a San Fran would play at 10 o'clock, and the East Coast team would play at 7. And it was always week one of the season, then they want to do it again. So just not a fan.
Well, let's move past the stupid 2 Monday Night Football games, and we'll talk about something else that's stupid, and
Yep.
that's the Cleveland Browns. The start of the season has been awful. Offensive line, you might as well put traffic cones out there because this group has been horrible. Deshaun Watson, he has been on his roller coaster continuously. There's moments where he's been putting the ball in the money, and his receivers just have to haul it in, and they're dropping it.
Yep.
There's times where he's been on the move and showing off flashes of his athleticism that he showed his whole time with the Houston Texans. So there are good moments, and then there's just bad moments where he's got these bad misses, and it's like, what are you doing? Type of plays, or he's trying to put on this hero cape when all you need to do is just throw it away or find a receiver underneath. And I got to say, that's not the only problem. Then you have Kevin Stefanski, where his play calling, him and Ken Dorsey
Yep.
have not figured out a good scheme yet at this point. Maybe Ken Dorsey is the problem because the Buffalo Bills sure got better after he was gone. But Kevin Stefanski, if he's the one calling the plays, first half against Jacksonville was the only good half I've seen so far, play calling wise. Everything else has been pretty shoddy. So I don't know. There's a lot of concerns that I have with this team in general. Things could have gone really differently against the New York Giants if it weren't
Sure.
for that call on Greg Newsome. You think that you have the interception there, you're in great field position. Let's say the Browns go up 10-0, they go up 14-0 there. The Giants may have been out of that game at that point. Instead, no, you had the penalty. It kills momentum after the Browns already celebrated and danced defensively. And then the Giants go down the field, and then you have a 7-7 ball game, completely flip the game on its head. That could have been the biggest game-changing moment, and the Browns never really seemed to recover from that against a bad Giants team that they shouldn't have lost to. Now, Vince, up against the Raiders, going on the road. How do you feel about this one?
Sit Miles Garrett for the next 4 weeks. Put him on the IR now. Why are you going to play him when he's already banged up? This guy, MCL, ACL, wrist, ribs, okay? These are all things, with the exception of ribs, but all the other stuff you really don't want to screw with. If something's already tender, don't play. Listen,
And it's his feet, right?
yeah, sit the guy for the next 4 weeks. Let him get as close to healthy as possible when the schedule begins to get tough. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go take a look at the Cleveland. And you can tell I'm telling because I'm getting heated up here. Go look at the bottom half of the Browns' schedule. Okay, that's when probably they're gonna have their toughest games with the way things shape up. Sit him. You don't get any pressure with them. Anyways, the one thing that frustrates me is they don't know. Here we go. Miles Garrett, you're 8 or 9 already. You still do not know how to utilize the double teams when he's being double teamed. There should be a straight shot to the quarterback every time, whether it's a corner, a safety coming in or whatever you're going to do with your blitz. They need to figure out a way to utilize that. Now that I got that off my chest, speaking of the Browns defense, this is what needs to come into Las Vegas and win them this game on Sunday. You played, Gardner Minshew last year, and he lit you up when he was with the Colts last year. He absolutely lit you up. There was a bad call late in that game, and the Browns were able to come back and they were able to beat the Colts at the goal line, and they won, but they really probably should have lost that game. So, that being said, I think Jim Schwartz and this defense and the secondary, for that fact, this secondary makes the necessary adjustments. I'm awful tonight. I apologize, everybody. The necessary adjustments to shut Gardner down. I really truly believe that. I think the Browns are going to win. I think it's going to be a defensive effort that's going to cause them to win. So with or without Miles Garrett, the Browns defensively need to step up in this game. I'm picking them to win, but I want to say a couple more things. Everybody wants to talk about that fourth down play where Deshaun Watson didn't see the wide open. I think it was Elijah Moore underneath, which could have got them the first down.
Jordan
Could have
Akins.
extended it. Yeah, sorry, Jordan Akins. Then there was the Tillman drop. There's a million different reasons that you could go back and look at that game and say, okay, if Tillman would have caught this, or if this would have been different, or if they wouldn't have fumbled here. And you're right. You're right about all those things. But at the end of the day, what people aren't considering is when it was third and short before that fourth down, why would you throw a bomb 40 yards downfield? You got two receivers over there. You got Jerry Jeudy and Amari Cooper going to the sidelines, defensive backs everywhere. It was just a stupid play call. Now I understand, like, Deshaun Watson has not been at his best, and trust me, I'm not no stranger to criticize him. He hasn't been at his best, but come on, man. When you have 8 sacks against this guy, all right, they're blitzing you. He looks like a tap dancer back there to begin with. Help him out.
Yeah.
Help him out. There was a play, and again, forgive me if I don't remember this correctly. If it was this week or last week, I think it was against Jacksonville. I'm pretty sure it was against Jacksonville. Actually, it was where it was a 4th and 1. Jacksonville overcommitted because they thought Jameis Winston was going to sneak it up the middle. Instead, they went outside to Jerome Ford, and Jerome Ford had like a 46-yard pickup. Pretty sure it was against Jacksonville. So look at that situation. Look at just the overall decision making. The play calling was terrible. You should have way more 3-step drops. When you don't know your offense line can block anything, you go 3-step drops. Throw some screens to Ford. On that one touchdown drive, the only one they really had that you can consider a drive, it was a few quick pops to Jerome Ford. Why not utilize that? Okay, so you have those quick screens. You have the speed. Get them out in the open field. Take some of that pressure off your quarterback. You hit the Giants with a couple of good screen passes and the quick slants and quickness. They might not blitz as much. They might sit back a little bit and try to pick one off. There's ways to adjust. If you're Kevin Stefanski and you're saying, I'm not going to give up the play calling and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, then call better plays. It's so frustrating. The last point I'll make is this. You have Foreman, okay? He came in and he did a hell of a job week 2 against Jacksonville, touched the ball a lot. You guys ran the ball and you won. Against the Giants, who came in, granted it's only 2 weeks, and I get that, but the Giants came in with the 29th ranked defense and you don't run the ball. It's like the Browns did everything possible to lose. It's frustrating. It's frustrating as a media outlet. It's frustrating as a fan because when you can sit on your couch and a guy like me with almost zero athletic ability could sit there and tell you, hey, this is what you could do to win, it shouldn't be that obvious to a fan. That makes it more frustrating. Again, all that being said, I think the Raiders are just as bad. They're struggling just like the Browns are to start this season. This is a game the Browns should win. I think they're embarrassed after last week. I don't know if they're going to win by 2 touchdowns. Like I said, I think it's going to be a defensive battle. I'd say a 4-point win, Cleveland.
Yeah, I think you summed it up there. I'm going to keep it short and sweet as we're down to the last couple minutes here of this show. But I actually had a buddy who texted me during the game and right towards the end and talking about Tillman maybe being a bust and saying that yes, exactly, and said that we were missing a guy like David Bell who short yardage situations like that who you just throw it to him, he gets to the sticks, he catches it, he does not drop that football. So we were missing a guy like David Bell. There's no question. That being said, this team, they're fortunate that the Bengals are struggling. They're fortunate that the Ravens are struggling. They're fortunate that the Steelers probably have the toughest schedule on the back half of the season. So even though the Steelers have 3 wins so far and no losses, the chance is still there that you could end up catching this Pittsburgh Steelers team later in the year. So they're not out of it by any means. So as much as there's all this doom and gloom and everything feels bad and all the fans are frustrated, there's a right to feel frustrated. There's a reason you feel frustrated. But that being said, this team, they can't lose against the Raiders. They lose, that could be a season killer. They win this game, they're 2-2, they're 500. They got a chance to keep this thing going this season. They're really not out of it. It's so early. So they got some things they need to sort out. I think they're going to do just enough to win this game on the road. For some reason, they're struggling at home this year, which is the complete opposite of what they did last year, where they were great at home, they were bad on the road. Well, they won at Jacksonville, and I'm thinking that they're going to win on the road again at Las Vegas. I have this one 23-17. They're going to surpass 20 points again, but there's still no chance of them getting past 30 points. That's not happening anytime soon in my best guess. So But yeah, I do think Cleveland wins this game, and they improve their record, Vince.
I agree, and we're going to see what happens here with the rest of the season if Watson could settle in, if they could get things figured out. Because if they do, the Browns will be a very tough out this year. But if they don't, we're headed for disaster.
Final minute here of the show. Going to get to our upset picks here really quick, and I went against this team last week, and I'm going to go with them this week to pull off the upset. Last week, I chose the Pittsburgh Steelers to defeat the Los Angeles Chargers. This week, I think that the Chargers at home, they, as the underdogs, take down the Kansas City Chiefs. Whether they have Justin Herbert or not because of his ankle sprain, doesn't matter if it's Herbert, doesn't matter if it's Heineke. I have a gut feeling that Jim Harbaugh is going to play the Chiefs like he had Michigan play against Ohio State. It's going to be all focused about controlling the time of possession, controlling the clock, using the offensive line, running with power, and making sure that they keep the football out of the hands of Patrick Mahomes. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. I think that the Chargers hand the Kansas City Chiefs their first loss of the season because, hey, the Chiefs, they can't win every single game. And unlike the Bills, who are also undefeated, the Bills have been convincing. The Chiefs have not. The Travis Kelce connection has not been there. Kelce has had a bad start to the year. Obviously, they've had their injury issues with Pacheco out at running back. So they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with Carson Steele and now Kareem Hunt coming in and Samaje Perine. So their run game is definitely not as good as what it had been in the past. Rashee Rice has really been their only stable offensive weapon so far that's been consistent. And Mahomes just has not been playing like Mahomes yet to this point. So I say the Chiefs fall, and there you go. Chargers, Vince.
Kansas City is due for a big win. I think they're going to come out. I think they're going to blow the doors off the Chargers. So I actually see a 2+ touchdown victory for Kansas City. My upset pick, based because I am a glutton for punishment, and people who know me probably know I am way too loyal. So that being said, for the fourth straight week, or at least 3 out of 4 weeks, I did take them to beat Denver. But for the third week out of 4, I'm actually going to pick against Pittsburgh. You know what? The more I think about it, I picked them week 1, so I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. I picked them to beat Atlanta. But last week I picked against them, and Pittsburgh made me pay. We'll see if they do it again. I am picking the Colts to upend Pittsburgh. The Colts are playing at home. I think they're starting to feel their way a little bit. I just don't see Pittsburgh starting the season at 4-0. If they came into this game at 2-1, I might pick Pittsburgh. If they're 1-2, I might pick Pittsburgh. I just don't see the Pittsburgh Steelers starting the season 4-0. I'll like the Colts at home. That's my upset pick.
I have Pittsburgh. I think that Anthony
I figured as
Richardson's
much.
been terrible. As much as I actually think when I did my whole sheet at the beginning of the year, like before the season even started, months before, I actually think I had the Colts winning a couple months ago. But now at this point, after seeing these teams, I don't think that Anthony Richardson against that Steelers defense is going to have much success. So that's why I picked Pittsburgh. So everybody out there, again, you need to check out our full list of picks on keonsports.com. And Vince, your final thoughts.
Final thoughts heading into the weekend. Big game for me personally tomorrow night. I will be there as St. Ed's hosts Glenville. The freshman team for St. Ed's got crushed tonight, so let's see if the varsity could do a little bit better. And then obviously Friday night, check out that broadcast. It is the Avon Eagles heading into the Olmsted Falls Bulldogs. Lord only knows what's going to go down Friday night. We have Darian Jackson, who actually has a special credential made up that night that says Cole McDaniel. So it's going to be a fun night for our broadcast crew. And I know they're looking forward to it. But guys, if you're looking for a score on Friday night, Cole, what should they do?
Yeah, they should go check out the scoreboard. I will be updating that throughout the night. Of course, that's on the website as well. We'll have a ton of updated scores across Northeast Ohio and some other schools that Vince wanted me to get some scores of some big Cincinnati schools down there too. So make sure to check out that scoreboard. Like I said, gets updated throughout the night. And then as most of the games start to go final, then you're going to actually see written game recaps go in there as well. So if you want to go check out some stories, go in there, check out the hyperlinks that take you to that story, so you can read about that. So a lot of great coverage on KeonSports.com, but that does it for myself, Cole McDaniel, Vince McKee. We'll be back with you for week 5.